All right. Just to respect your time, we're going to get rocking and rolling here. So just a couple of reminders because this is a webinar format. We will try to use the Q&A for you to ask your questions. We can upvote those. Chances are, if you are thinking it, someone else is too. So don't be afraid to use the Q&A. Pop a question in there. Myself, Cassie, and Dennis will be monitoring that throughout the time. So we'll try and answer your questions as we go along. Otherwise, you can still use the chat to just share ideas and comments or maybe just respond to something you heard. And we will send out the slide deck from the College Board folks and this recording to everybody who is registered. So if you came in late, had to leave early, or just for those who aren't able to join us today, we will get you all the info so you can watch it at a later date and time. If you do watch it at a later date and time, just please remember that all of this information is accurate up until the day of this presentation. So if you come and check this out a week later, a month later, maybe not so much in this case with BigFuture and College Board, but even a year later, we have these webinars available on YouTube and the MASSP webinar page. Just know that some of that information might change. So it's always a good practice just to make sure you have the most up-to-date info on whatever content and resources you are seeking out. So I see we have a few more people in the chat that have joined us. We've got the UP, we've got the West Side, we've got the East Side. So awesome. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to Cassie and Dennis from the College Board. And the stage is yours. Thanks for being with us, guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Ryan. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and jump right in then. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're excited to spend the next bit with you all, sharing free resources and tools to support college and career readiness. I know some of you in the chat are looking for some newer updates and features, so we'll try to spend some time on that as well. But overall, too, if you want to throw in the chat if you've used BigFuture before or if you're familiar with it, that will be great. That way we can kind of tailor our time here towards things that you may be looking to get out of this session. So with that, my name is Cassie Tef de Munoz. I'm the Senior Director of K-12 here at the College Board and based in Michigan. I'm up in the Upper Peninsula, and I'm joined here also by my colleague. I'll turn it over to him.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Dennis Bestie. I serve as the director for K through 12 here in the state of Michigan, and I reside in Troy.
Awesome. So Dennis and I work together, so we are your main contacts here, especially for all things Michigan and however we can support you best. I know I've heard Dennis say this a lot, and I certainly reiterate, but we are free resources for you. So please feel free. We're not just a face on a screen on this webinar, but we are very much live humans ready to help with anything, and we'll have our contact info at the end of the presentation as well. So please feel free to reach out to us about BigFuture or anything else in our SAT suite or advanced program or advanced placement program. So a little bit about what we're going to do today. So we're going to focus on what BigFuture is, the resources that it contains, and then the different ways that you can use BigFuture. There are actually two separate BigFuture platforms that we'll go through. And then we'll also share some exciting news about the BigFuture scholarships and some great resources for families as well. BigFuture supports students as they explore careers and plan. I think, we all in the room sort of know that access to accurate information about college can sometimes be a bit tricky. And what students are hearing from, family and supportive people at home is really well intentioned, but not always the most up to date. And what BigFuture aims to do is really give them the power within their hands to access reliable resources. So with that in mind, kind of looking at the bigger picture here, if you know anything about College Board, this is sort of our mission for everything that we do. And BigFuture is really cool because it's almost one of the earliest parts of a student's journey. They can start using it really as soon as about 8th grade. And so when we're thinking about all of the different programs that we at the College Board put together, whether it's through our SAT suite of assessments, or our advanced placement program, BigFuture is like really one of the first entry points that a student can have if they're starting to think seriously about what's going to come after high school. And we also know that the challenge ahead of us is real. I know, just from seeing in the chat, many of you are leaders, administrators at schools. You see every day how confusing the journey for students can be. Um, there's a lot of pressure on students to try to figure out early on what they want to do, and for good reason. We want them to be, well guided and to make choices in high school that will place them on the path for what they want to do. But it's tough sometimes to kind of navigate all of the different options that are available. So, we know that only about 20% of students have heard a lot about non-4-year options like, trades and apprenticeship and other pathways. Um, we also know that there are a lot of students who could be really well suited towards a college pathway that maybe didn't realize that they were actually capable. And sometimes early awareness and early empowerment is really important in helping them figure that out. So really what we're looking at on the slide is the disconnect that is kind of existing between what students know about what's available and how they access information that will help them know more. And whether they're interested in a college-bound path or a direct career path, one of the most important things that we're always trying to reiterate is that it's about skills. So I know for my personal career, I can speak for this, and I'm sure all of you as well. Um, when I was in high school, you could not have ever predicted to me that I would have this administrative education career, right? That was not on any career assessment that I ever took in high school. But what it really has been about is the skills. And so the problem solving, the resourcefulness, critical thinking, all of those 21st century, workforce readiness skills. And so talking to students more about the skill-based, the acquisition of skill-based learning is sort of the more important part than trying to figure out the what of what they want to do. I always used to tell students, can you draw your career on a piece of paper? And usually if the answer was yes, they weren't thinking broad enough, right? Like if you say like draw, a picture of your career and they draw a lab coat and a stethoscope, well, it's pretty clear that they've maybe only been exposed to one particular image of that career pathway. So what we're talking about really is the skill side of career development. And again, it's really all about awareness, as you all know. So the things that we can put in front of students as early as we can in their journey, um, really high school is a bit late, right? You all probably know that as well. We're seeing more and more research pushing towards upper elementary, even early middle school as the key points to reach students with awareness, because at that point they don't quite have blinders on. They're still very open to different options in front of them. So with career exploration, what we're looking to do is increase the likelihood that they'll choose their path and then they'll persist and find success in that pathway, whatever it may be. Pathways obviously aren't career choices. Or are career choices, they're not separate. So helping them experience them early on through hands-on exploration is really important. And College Board's really been on the front end of this for a long time. We've obviously been around for a very long time. We've been working with students. We've navigated many trends and shifts as far as educational outcomes for students and the big push more from college into career pathways. And one of the things that we've found, especially in recent years, is that almost 2/3 of students say that the information from College Board about colleges they hadn't considered has been really helpful. So that's really kind of what sparked BigFuture as a program for us. We wanted to make sure that every student had clear, trustworthy information, and not students who already, had access to that or already knew the system. What we were really trying to do is increase equity in that access point to information. So with that, let's talk about BigFuture. So BigFuture is in its essence a free online planning guide. that students can navigate, but also families, friends, supportive aunts, uncles, anyone who knows a upper middle high school student who's starting to think about what's next. Really, anyone can use BigFuture, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But at its core, BigFuture is about helping students move from uncertainty to clarity by giving them access to high quality and reliable information. And a visual kind of looks like this. There's three main components that students can do with BigFuture. One, they can explore careers. So it does have the ability to actually match them to potential career pathways that they may be successful in based on some of their testing data. And then it also allows them to plan for college using college search features, matching based on fit and alignment with what they tell BigFuture that they're looking for. And then, of course, the financing piece, right? I mean, we know this is it's the number one hindrance for students considering college. We also know it's the number one source of misinformation for students about college is navigating all of the financial insecurities that exist. And so BigFuture is really trying to help them with that gap as well, because it's not enough just to encourage a student on a pathway. They have to believe that they are capable of actually reaching it as well.
Yeah, no, that's great, Cass. And early in the presentation, you talked about accessing this amazing resource, and that's what I'll start with. Just covering two different ways. There's the Big Future School mobile app, and then there's bigfuture.org. They're both designed to support students just at different points along their journey and really help them complete that planning experience. So students typically start with the Big Future mobile app. That's where they can see their scores. They can see career insights that are connected to their skills, and they can receive timely planning messages. And then they have the option to opt in to all of these. And that's huge, just to know for administrators that this is an optional thing that students can utilize. But once they get into Big School mobile app, or I'm sorry, Big Future School mobile app, then they can move on to bigfuture.org. That's something that has a lot more options. They can take career quizzes, they can search for scholarships and colleges, and there's just so many more different things to go deeper into their exploration of what that next step looks like for them. But let's start with the Big Future School mobile app. And this is for individuals or for students who take the school day, SAT Suite of Assessment school day assessments, and for individuals who are 13 and older. So that's another caveat. And it's optional for students, and it's also for individuals who are 13 and older. And while this is optional, it is something that is beneficial, and then we'll dive more into that, and something that it sounds like individuals on this chat are already familiar with. But it is something we encourage individuals or administrators to highlight that this is an option to help them explore their careers. With this app, what they can do to start is that they'll provide a mobile number. And again, that's optional to do that. The next step is to authenticate and download the app. And then they'll confirm the app or access that this is actually them with a one-time code, probably processes that you guys are all familiar with. All of these steps are optional again, so it's important that we point this out to these individuals so they don't just go through it. Again, if they opt out, that is their choice. We want them to recognize that this is an opportunity to not only get their scores, more practical information, but also to dive in and explore what their future options may look like. So let's walk through those steps a little bit. Step one happens during the exam setups. Again, this is maybe the screenshot right here. It's something that you can take when you are sent the slides, and it's something that you can show just to highlight that this is the time that they will do it. And individuals can enter their mobile number to get the access. And then on the next slide, step two, the students choose to provide a mobile number. They'll receive a secure message with instructions to download the Big Future School app. It's designed to be simple. There's no passwords. And again, students can opt out of messages at any time. They're in control of this whole process. And then that final step, what that looks like is that they are sent a one-time passcode. Again, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with what that looks like. And then once they're in, they can view their scores. They can explore career insights and receive guidance that is timely and relevant based upon their grade level and where they are in the school year. These screens right here show what students see once they're in the app, but rather than going through each screen, what I really want to say is that this is designed to be student friendly, right? We want to meet them where they are. It's a mobile first, which students from this generation are all mobile first, and it's focused on helping students take that next step. So at this point, students have access to their scores, right? They can see career insights, they can see other planning tools, and it's just meant to spark their curiosity, right? It's only the beginning. They're giving them those scores, giving them an outline, and then what we can do next is, for what students can do next is move on, right? Dig a little bit deeper. And this is the dashboard that they will see in that bigfuture.org. And there's two other great features that I want to highlight. One is connections, which we'll talk about later or dive into a little bit more later, which is for individuals that are 13 and older. And it's offered to a vast majority of students because of their in-school assessments. And then we also have connections. That is another option for individuals and student search services. So those are student search services is for individuals who have not taken a school day assessment.
All right, and then just one quick note, I put this in the chat as well, but in Michigan, students can only utilize the BigFuture school mobile app at the PSAT 10 and up. In other words, PSAT 8, 9, we have suppressed that feature because the data privacy piece is really important, and we know that students in that 8, 9 range may not yet be 13. So that is something very unique to Michigan. Great. Okay, so thanks, Dennis, for walking us through the school mobile app side. So bigfuture.org is your effective Google search version. So free, open to anyone on the web. You can go to this right now if you so choose. And this is a great resource for really anyone who's looking to support a student on their journey, including also you all as administrators, your counselors, your teachers. The great thing about bigfuture.org is it has both generalized information, but then as Dennis mentioned, you have the mobile app side that students can actually see their personalized content. So we're going to focus a little bit on what bigfuture.org is, because this may be one of the easier resources to navigate for your administrators. Whoops. All right. So bigfuture.org, free for everyone. It's basically full of personalized tools for helping students discover what their options are. Some of those things that we had talked about earlier, as far as career search options, college search, so forth, all of that housed here on bigfuture.org as well. And accounts are free, again, just to reiterate that. So students can get a personalized dashboard, interactive checklists. And I mentioned earlier that the BigFuture School mobile app is suppressed for those PSAT 8, 9 takers. They can definitely still go to bigfuture.org. So they can still access those resources. It's just not a linked component to their PSAT exam at that point in time. So what does the career search piece look like? I think this is super cool because we know that this is one of the greatest information gaps for students is how do you actually figure out what careers are out there, what I may be good at, and what those careers mean. I think one of the most important conversations with the student is not just the entry point career, but what does that career look like over the lifetime journey in that career? One of the biggest pieces or one of the biggest misconceptions for students is they're often focused so heavily on that first initial starting salary. That's great, but what are you going to be earning 15, 20 years down the line in that career? What opportunities are there for growth? Will you, have stability in what that career can provide for your benefits and your health and so forth? And so that's a little bit of what Career Search aims to do is really empower students to think about the initial career, but also like what the journey of that career looks like. Again, this is personalized, free exploration, really specific to what the students state that they are looking to do. And then if they do find a career that they want to explore further, they can use the career profile to learn more about it. There is that information on salary, also the expected skills necessary for that career, because again, we're always trying to focus on the skill building element of a career. One really cool thing about the career search is that they can see national information, but they can also filter it down to Michigan perspective, including anticipated growth and salary as well for Michigan. All right, so looking at what this looks like, these are just some screenshots from what a student might find if they were to enter some of these potential careers in the search there. You'll see there's the median yearly income, most common education level of people in that career path, and then also the job growth, which I think is a really important thing to consider, not something that students may have front of mind at their age. Um, and then, looking at the job outlook overall, this sort of gives students the bigger picture as far as all of the elements that they should be considering, which they might not be at this point in time. They might just really be focused on that initial starting salary. But again, if this job is not projected to grow within the next few years, that might be a really important consideration for a student. And then looking deeper into the insights piece, so there is this career quiz, and it creates this RIASEC index, which basically is this colorful map you see kind of in the middle of your screen. So that's realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, or conventional. These are the types of this is the RIASEC model that helps them kind of identify how these career pathways align with their stated interests. One thing that's really important is our goal isn't to tell students what they should do, by no means. It's really just to provide them with information about possibilities that they may not have considered before, or may not have had present of mind before. And then looking deeper into it, so let's say, a student isn't sure which pathway is right for them. So we do have this sort of multiple pathways to success hub within the site that does provide more information about 2-year, 4-year, and then apprenticeship options as well. Because we know that a 4-year degree may not be the best pathway or the only pathway for a student. So we try to show many different options. And you can see here too, job on the job training, skill training, military, etc. All right. With that, let's look a little bit deeper at the planning function. And Lisa, I see your question in the chat. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit here. So on the planning part of BigFuture, so this is where we look deeper at the college side. So there are 3 main components. There's the personalized checklist, student search, and then there's the video resource sort of library and bank. The Plan for College section really emphasizes fit, not prestige, and encourages students to think critically about really their environment that they're looking for in a college. Campus size and what types of extracurriculars are present beyond just their major. Thinking about, are they looking at a residential campus? Are they wanting to stay somewhere where they can commute maybe their first year? I mean, this really helps them think about all of those different options. That's going to create the overall fit that'll allow them to be successful academically.
Hey, Cassie.
It also, yeah.
We have a question. So, is there any sort of availability for like school admin or career college advisors to be able to access any of this information that students are selecting or choosing so they can better fit programs or opportunities to bring in that would align to the student interest at all?
I believe on the BigFuture School mobile app there is. I haven't yet had the opportunity to get in there as an administrator. Dennis, have you had experience with that?
Yeah, the intention for this app and for this opportunity is to allow the students to drive their interest, to explore on their own, to take more control of their education. There are reports within the K through 12 to see activity, but not necessarily the details that the students see. But that doesn't mean that this can't be a tool that you do in conjunction with the student. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just thinking about, when you're an advisor, if you're an instructor, whatever it may be, you can ask the students to bring up their records and see what their interests may be, right? See what their career insights are and use that as talking points, right? That's great. I mean, you have sometimes other districts may have individuals fill out assessments anyways, but this is already baked in, right? This is something that they're already doing. It's a great tool to build upon.
Yeah, good point. Thanks, Dennis. So when they are in the student search feature too, this is just that tool that helps them align with college and scholarship programs. This is that optional piece that Dennis mentioned called connections, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but it allows them to actually connect directly with colleges as well. So just some quick screenshots of that college planning piece. This is sort of like the BuzzFeed quiz version of, what are you looking for in a college environment? But this is really what starts to generate that student profile. And then another interesting piece is if they're starting this journey earlier, which again, if they can hop on that bigfuture.org, even starting in 8th grade, it also can provide suggestions about high school classes that colleges are looking for those specific career pathways. So really helping them start to think about, all right, if I want to go into X field, then when I'm in high school, I should take advantage of, these courses that my school offers or the CTE program or et cetera. And I know, by the way, you may be here on the chat and you're thinking, well, we talk to students about this all the time. 100%. Sometimes it just takes them hearing it from somebody else right before it sinks in. Sometimes it's not it's the timing of when they get this information. And as Dennis mentioned, with them deriving that journey themselves, the same, information can pop up on this website or the app that you have been saying 10 times all year long. And that might just be the ticket that's like, oh yeah, what so-and-so is saying, actually, this is what I'm hearing on this website too. So we know a lot of this is just an additional supplementary support for what you're already doing and saying in your schools. So these are just some screenshots of different resources that students can tap into as they're looking to stand out in high school, because we know that making sure that they are really providing themselves with opportunities to create a really sort of robust, well-rounded profile as they're looking towards the future is really important. So these are just helpful articles for students. And then really breaking down some of the myths about, for example, public versus private colleges, what types of colleges exist. If you know that you eventually want a 4-year degree, but you maybe want to start at a 2-year institution and go through a transfer pathway, we have articles on these topics as well, to really help students understand that if their intention is to eventually transfer, they really need to approach that 2-year first college intentionally with the courses that they're taking and so forth. So it's a really comprehensive resource. As you can tell, we have so many different resources on here. And again, because the bigfuture.org site is free to everybody, this is also a resource that your in-school personnel and leaders can access as well. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with your counseling and guidance conversations that you're having with students. Honestly, some of these articles, again, are really formatted to be very easy to share, and they're already written in student-friendly language. So please feel free also to use these, within your own advising if you find them relevant and helpful. In this screenshot, we're searching for colleges based on major. So if a student knows, for example, they want to study plant science up there, this will actually generate a list of all of the colleges that actually offer that as a 4-year option, which is really helpful because otherwise students are mostly spending a lot of time doing it in the reverse, right? Like looking up a college first and then trying to see what major they have. This will actually help them open their minds to colleges they may not have considered before because they have the major that they're seeking. And when we follow that architecture thread through, if we're searching for that, this kind of shows what that looks like when they pick majors, colleges with majors of architecture. It then, as you can see, links to the career pathways that we talked about a little bit earlier. And then again, that university list. And then you can see right there, it has the, heart icon, save this college. So that college search saving list feature is really important for our Big Future scholarships, we're going to talk about in a little bit, but really helping them shortlist these colleges.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's great. And that's what we want individuals to do. We want students to explore what options are out there. But then what Big Future can do is it takes that next step and it has them connect with them. And that's something that we're all doing already. We have colleges come to our campus. We might take students to campuses out there. And why do we do that? Because we know the benefits. We know the benefits about making those connections. And this slide highlights just with some data points of what it does. If you're able to connect students and really have them see and envision themselves in these places, they're more likely to apply, they're more likely to enroll, and they're more likely to graduate. And it's not that we're trying to push people in one direction or another direction or to a specific school. We just want them to see what's out there. I always think about my own journey. So I grew up I was a first gen student, grew up at 8 Mile and Grospect in South Warren. I don't know if you guys know that area. But I applied to one school and they accepted me and I went to that one school. I didn't even visit campus or anything like that, just because I didn't know of any options out there. I didn't know what that whole process was. And there's thousands of students in that same position, even now, right? This was decades ago for me, but even now, they don't know what options are out there. So how do we connect them to these options? And this is where connections fits in, right? In that whole planning experience. Students can explore those colleges, can identify what may be a good fit, and then bring those connections, bring those colleges to the students themselves. In the next slide, what it also does, right? There's so many different things. Not only does it help them discover, right, and connect these relevant post-secondary opportunities from over 700 nonprofit colleges or universities. There's also scholarship providers and government education programs. And what is important here again is that it is accessible to these students. We're meeting these students where they are, which is on their phone. And students get matched in minutes. So it's kind of like one of those things. Honestly, I always think of it like a dating app, right? Like people are seeking out these students, and isn't it always great to be wanted, right? So based on their preferences, based on the information connected to their assessment and experiences, students can see colleges that match what they're looking for, right? And they also can see that these colleges have indicated an interest in them. And then College Board shares messages from nonprofit organizations directly in the app. But at this stage, no personal information is shared, right? Students stay in control and can simply explore these messages that they're receiving from these institutions saying that we want you, we are interested in you. If a student decides they want to learn more, then they can choose to connect by requesting information. And at this point, and only at this point, the student actively chooses to share information directly with the institution. Again, the student chooses that. So really, I mean, the key takeaway is that connections help students move from searching to engagement. Wow, I think we've all been at college career fairs where students just wander around, and we always encourage the students, go talk to someone, right? Go learn something more. And this is kind of a safer space, a space that they're probably more comfortable with, right? Just being online to do that really helps and supports the students. In the next slide, yep. This is one of the things that we just want to keep reiterating, that no personal information is shared automatically. Students are in control of this whole process. They get to decide who they want to engage with, what message they want to read, and whether they want to move further in the process in terms of engagement and exploring this option for their future. And the third thing is that students manage their own choices, right? Within this app, it gives them the power. And they can opt in and they can opt out of these services. They can update their preferences as those change and evolve as they grow as individuals. They can change their settings, just nothing's locked in. Nothing happens without the student's consent. And, you kind of asked that question a little bit earlier. We want to give students more control, just like I'm sure you guys do. You want students to be more engaged in their future, and this is one way to do it. And so in that next slide, once students explore all their different options that may be out there, once they start having these communications, they build relationships, they find a couple good fits, hopefully, for where they can go next in terms of post-secondary education. Then we always have that question, how do I pay for this, right? How do I cover these costs? And that's also something that BigFuture can do. It can connect them with thousands of ways to pay and find scholarships and financial aid and other tools too. So here, again, searching for colleges, but then also there's a scholarship search, which includes over 20,000 different scholarships sourced from the National Scholarship Provider Association, which you guys are probably familiar with. And students can match with over $1.5 billion that are out there based on, so many things that we hear about, based on background, interests, future plans, past achievements. So we don't only match students with scholarships, but we also offer scholarships too. So College Board not only provides this platform for students to become connected to all the scholarships that are out there, like you can see here, but also for them to engage in this, we offer scholarships. So it's kind of like an incentive to help them engage into this process, into BigFuture. And you can see here, just again, students can not only look for scholarships, but they can learn more about financial aid basics. I'm sure this is all literature, kind of like Cassie mentioned before, that you share with them. But again, it's on their phone. It's more accessible. When they're just waiting in line at McDonald's, they can start reading about that, and they can learn more about what estimating college costs look like. So it's not just about the campus, but also hopefully increasing more awareness about what that financial commitment looks like. And it really just helps demystify the financial side of planning and really encourages, again, students to engage earlier rather than waiting until their senior year.
All right, and then quick question in the chat here from Amanda. So, can students access the connections on the .org website or only the mobile app? I believe they can also access this on .org as well, correct, Dennis?
Yep.
The school mobile app, the main difference is that it's directly connected to the school's in-school administration of the SAT. So one of the big differences between the two is that it contains their score component sort of automatically if they opt into BigFuture at the time of exam administration. Again, in Michigan, that would be for PSAT 10 and above. But yes, they can access it both ways. All right, so diving a bit deeper into the scholarships. So as you know, this is really every student that I've talked to who knows about BigFuture, this is the carrot. They're like, oh yeah, I start using it because I can search for all those scholarships. Yes, we know this is a really important piece for students. They can start also being eligible for a BigFuture scholarship starting in the 10th grade. So one great way to make sure that students are really leveraging all of the power and resources of BigFuture is to let them know that each step they take on BigFuture to sort of curate their profile, search for colleges, apply for FAFSA, and so forth, everything that they do actually earns them entries into a monthly scholarship drawing that comes from us, from the College Board. We have given away more than $23 million in scholarships since 2019. And essentially, each month we pick hundreds of $500 scholarship winners. And then twice a month, we have a student receive a $40,000 scholarship from BigFuture. And this is not something they apply for. They don't write an essay. They don't, make a video. They don't do anything other than access the BigFuture, either the mobile app or the .org, and engage with it. And so again, each engagement that they do earns them entries. And then also behind the scenes, students actually can earn double entries if they qualify, for example, as low income, or there are some district components as well. So on the back end, we are always seeking to reward students for really making the most of the resources and tools. Here in Michigan, we wanted to share some specific numbers. We are seeing more and more engagement from students across the state. And then we also see that when students take more than one step, they earn multiple entries and also increase their chances of winning the scholarship. In Michigan, we see particularly strong participation from first-generation college students, which is really rewarding for our team because that's one of our big parts of our mission. So we've had over 41,000 Michigan students get at least one entry in the scholarship. And you can see that the vast majority completed more than one step on BigFuture, meaning that they've gotten multiple entries. We have 389 scholarship winners in Michigan to date. Keep in mind that is both the $500 scholarship as well as the $40,000 scholarships. Equates to over $300,000 that students have received here in Michigan. And then specifically, our class last year here has earned over $94,000. And about 23, so about a quarter of them are first generation college students. And this year, so far, we've already had over 161 winners in Michigan, receiving over $120,000. So actually, we're far outpacing last year's class, which again just attests to that growth that we're seeing in student engagement, in large part because of our school leaders like you all who are really helping us spread the word about this resource. Now, I'm super excited because 2 weeks ago, Lincoln here actually was a $40,000 scholarship winner. I actually got to go to his school and meet Lincoln and let him know that he was a scholarship winner, which was a moment I will never forget in all of my career. He's at a school in Battle Creek, and it was just an incredible, incredible opportunity. Lincoln, in particular, is a triplet, and his two brothers had received athletic scholarships to universities, and this Lincoln was always more of the academic one himself, and so it really is going to be a tremendous help to his family trying to send three students to school or to college in the fall. So, how did Lincoln become eligible and others? Well, the scholarship piece starts at 10th grade. So when they start engaging with BigFuture in 10th grade, again, they earn those entries. They have to have an active College Board account, attend high school, or be enrolled in a homeschool in the U.S. And again, it's not like they're submitting a application for this. So there's no minimum GPA, test score, or income requirements. It's really about how much initiative is the student taking in their journey, and are they demonstrating that through being active on BigFuture. These are some of those steps that earn them entries. So starting a college list, completing the FAFSA, applying to colleges, so forth.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about the app itself to make you more familiar, perhaps to highlight some options or opportunities that you didn't know existed. But what we're, as we understand our audience, what we also want to talk about is how can you guys utilize it, right? Like how can staff, admin utilize this tool to make sure that students are exploring or allowing their students to explore. And that's really where this comes to next, right? We want to make sure that the planning and also the motivation that you guys can provide is combined to really help those students excel and get to that next level. And before we do that, before we dive into it, we really want to just set the platform that this is something that's being used, right? Some administrators or some teachers may think, is this really something that students are actually using? And yes, so you can see here at the end of the 24-25 school year, there were nearly 4.8 million students who had provided a mobile number, again, that's optional, to access BigFuture. And it tells us that students are willing to engage in this tool. And then once they're onboarded, engagement tends to stay high. We saw that 95% of students check their scores in the app, which made it the go-to source for individuals to access this information. We also saw strong interest beyond just score viewing. Around 3.6 million students opted in to connections, showing that students want help discovering colleges and scholarships, especially when that information is personalized to them and it's easy to access. So this is definitely a tool that is something that students are interested in. So how do we help administrators use that interest, use that natural alignment to help them explore more? And so this just walks you through all the different opportunities that may be out there, right? We all know that it starts with the SAT assessment, right? Students get their score, they can look at the career insights and connect to the different skills that they have. But then what else is next, right? These are all different touch points that we as administrators can utilize as engagement opportunities to talk to these students about how their assessment, how their score affects their future, right? It's not just a score. It doesn't end with a score. The score is just the beginning. The assessment is just the beginning. Then we move on to planning, exploration, and what those next steps may be. And in the next slide, a key component to all of that is just making sure, right? This is foundation, making sure that all students have, or at least are aware of the BigFuture, whether it's the app or the website, or even printing out a PDF, right? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, how we highlight this. We want students to have more access. I know that I would have benefited to have a tool like this, to have something more accessible to me. There's always those students who thought we know it's it's a lot of demands that we have, a lot of students that we have to manage, that we can't have the same amount of time or the time we want to dedicate for all students to ensure that they have all the resources that they need. So how do we equip them, right? How do we get them ready to be prepared in that next step? And ensuring that they have access to one of these three things, whether it's the app, the website, or you're printing out a PDF, that is key foundation to build off of. And then in the next slide, what it shows is just that this is it, right? Not only can they check their scores, we want them to also explore different careers. And this is something that we can have with them. It's kind of touched on a little bit before. This is, and we'll talk about in a second, about the access that we have. We may not have direct access to all of this that you see in these screenshots, but they have access. And when we're having conversations, we can ask them to bring up this information, see if they're comfortable sharing it, and use that as those talking points. And so that just goes over some of the things that you can discuss with your students. Right at the top, you see the total score along with the different sections. Maybe this is typically where students start first, but they usually don't dive into those skills and knowledge portion of it. So how do we use that, right? How does that kind of start with that talking point and a way to engage them? Sometimes students will have information about the National Merit Scholarship, right? And counselors play a key role into talking about them. It's just another engagement opportunity. And then one of the most powerful additions to the score report is that career insights snapshot that was on the bottom of that last one. And that section really helps those students see where their skills are. And for this slide right here, we can see these insights and what those skills are, and to let those students know that their skills are in demand, right? Each career included in the snapshot that you see right here meets several important criteria. First, it meets the skills that the students have, or it highlights the skills that the students have, but then it connects those skills to careers that are in demand, that are growing, and that pay a living wage. When it comes to these career insight snapshots, it's not just a scatter shot of things that are out there. We want students to have gainful employment, things where they can feel rewarded, things where they can feel successful. And then thinking about just wrapping it up and how it's a tool itself through the K through 12 reporting tool, like we mentioned, educators can see, and this is what you can actually see. You can see high-level information about how students are engaging with BigFuture School and Connections. So you can't see their information per se, but you can see their engagement levels. And that's not meant so we can monitor them, but let's check who is opting into Connections. And if this is something that the district is being more intentional with, that the counselors see as valuable and want to sit with the students to talk about what they're seeing, how do we make sure that everybody engages or opts into Connections if this is something that you want to do? It's really just a way that individuals or districts can see through the reporting tool, which Cassie will talk about in a second, who's being engaged and who is being left out, who is not getting access to this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a screenshot of that reporting tool. So you can see those three reports there under the BigFuture School Connections section. These are located in the more online reports and tools section of that tool. And then to access, once you log into the portal, those reports are labeled. You don't need to run complex queries or download large data sets to get value from it. It's pretty straightforward. We really try to synthesize as easily as we can, so you can see, your total test takers, the amount who have those access to Connections, the amount who have viewed, so forth. So the reports are designed to give you a snapshot. Not to overwhelm you with data, really just so that you can quickly answer questions like, who might need a reminder to check their scores, which students might benefit from a follow-up conversation about opportunities, including, like as Dennis mentioned, you can pretty easily see from here who is not engaging and maybe encourage those students to get pulled in for some one-on-one conversations and being able to walk them through the resource as well. So very high-level reports designed to help schools focus efforts on where you can have greatest impact. And then just to kind of close this out, we have so many resources available for your school counselors and your administrative teams who are working with students on this, including I did throw in the chat here. I know we had a question about how do we inform families in our community about BigFuture. We have those flyers already made. If that's something that you'd be interested in, please let us know. We can make sure we can get you those or any of these resources. And then if you're not aware too, on our College Board website, we have these Spotlight on Success sections, and these are like real case studies from schools who have done some really innovative stuff with this, such as, hosting BigFuture information nights at their school, or building it into your back to school family open houses and so forth. So we're always, Dennis and I, as I mentioned first on the call, we are really a free resource to help you think through that stuff and brainstorm and strategize with you to make the most out of the tools for your districts. Sounds like there's an interest in those flyers. So Ryan, I'll include those to you as we send out the deck after the session here. So just to kind of highlight all of those resources, they're on the website. Again, there are many checklists. I know, when I was working on the student outreach side, we were recreating these checklists. Please don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, they already exist, and they're quite comprehensive as well. Our goal is to help students find what their pathway is. We're not partial to any particular institution or even necessarily a college institution. And that's what BigFuture is all about, is really equipping students and schools with the information for planning. Of course, I should say we have this is a great in-person game we would typically do on a BigFuture information session. This is something that we could do with admissions counselor or with school counselors. It just kind of puts them in the seat of the student in a simulation game. This is something that is really fun. If you ever want to bring us in person to your district to do something like that, it's something that we've done in the past. So with that, looks like we've got a couple of more minutes left here on the call. Dennis put in his email to the chat here. Looks like, Dennis, your email is missing a D at the end of collegeboard.org. But otherwise, thanks for putting your email in there. We are here to help with anything you may need. I'll put mine in as well, but opening it up now to any remaining questions.
I have a question, actually. So you mentioned that there was a resource area on the website that they can go and look up, like maybe some unique use, cases of some innovative things people are doing. What would you say, based on the schools that are doing this well, the ones that either A, have the highest engagement, right? Like what is the general approach that they have? Is this like having meetings before or after some, the fall or spring testing windows to say, hey, you're going to get an opportunity to connect to BigFuture? Is it, are counselors going into English classrooms and saying, all right, guys, I'm going to have you all download the BigFuture app today? And, because it's one thing to have them set up and connect their account. It's another to actually have them use it and engage with it, right? So, have you seen that, is there, I know it's unique for every school's different, but are there certain kind of standard processes that you've seen that some schools are doing that seem to work well?
Yeah, great question. Do you want to start, Dennis?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's just about being intentional, right? So there's tons of resources that we have, like me and Cassie being one of them. And we completely understand that districts only have so much time, right? And they have different focuses. And like you mentioned, Ryan, every district's a little bit different in terms of the resources that they have available. Some districts have their own career counselor, right? A career college advisor. Some districts, that is also the assistant principal or someone else, right? So it really just kind of depends on that. But it's just about being intentional, understanding that these resources exist and that they can be utilized to benefit your student. So how do you incorporate that within your school year? Like, are you having your counselors, like, when they sit down to talk about scheduling, bring that up? Like, have your students, like, making sure that that's a checkpoint on that discussion. Or, like you mentioned, maybe there's an 11th grade course that all students have to go through. Is the instructor in that course doing it? Or if the institution, the high school has enough resources and they have a college and career person, how is that incorporated into the work that they're doing in their annual work in terms of making sure that the students know that this resource exists? How are they reaching out to families, right? Like making sure that parents are also involved in this process and understand that their students have access to all this information. So again, like you mentioned, Ryan,
Yeah.
it's a mixed bag. There's not like one solution, but there's a lot of solutions.
And I would say too, though, the earlier the better. I mean, even ninth grade is not too late. So I would say some of the first conversations that school counselors are having with students when they arrive in high school is the time to start letting them know that there are resources out there. What I've seen so far, though, is students are actually fairly informed about Big Future. It's really the families side that I think we have the greatest opportunity because when you have a student who's so excited about something and then they go home and it's kind of met with like, the family's like, well, yeah, that sounds great, but I don't know what it is. It really kind of loses the momentum for that. So I think some of the most innovative things that I've seen are schools who are really making sure they're doing those family outreach pieces about Big Future, because also like a lot of these are resources parents want, guardians want, and they don't know how to find either. They didn't exist when they were students, certainly. So in addition to what Dennis said, I was like, the earlier the better. And then, wherever you have a family open house or family night and can have information resources, again, we've already created them. I think it helps get that information out to some of the student influencers and supporters as well.
Awesome. I am not seeing any more questions. I think maybe there might be something in the chat about the
Yes,
flyer
yes.
still.
Yep, Stacy, we'll make sure we send that out. I'll get over to MASSP and Ryan will get it out
Yep.
after the deck. Sure
Awesome.
thing.
Cool. Well, hey, Cassie, Dennis, thank you so much for joining us today. Just as a reminder, we have a couple other webinars happening through February into early March, some focused on vaping and tobacco cessation. So check those ones out. And then College Board will be back again, back to back on February 24th. We're going to be talking about the new AP African American Studies course, as well as in early March on the 5th. AP pre-calculus. So I know we're catching you right at scheduling time. So hopefully this is a conversation you've had with the counseling department about potentially offering those or having those on the offering course selection sheets for your students. So make sure you sign up for those. You can head over to massp.com/events, find those dates, register. They are all free. So that'll do it for us, everybody. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day and week. Take care.
Have a good one, everybody.